Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get to in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Dodgers being one win away from the World Series. But this next win is going to be so tough to get, especially when they're down 8-1 in Game 5. Yeah, it looks like the Dodgers might be looking at a Game 6. Hopefully not a Game 7. And the Chargers look pretty solid against the Denver Broncos, winning in Denver for the first time in 5 years. Can they keep it up on Monday Night Football against the Arizona Cardinals? And the Rams are back in action when they play the Las Vegas Raiders. Can the Rams salvage their season, or is it just too little too late? Also, USC football disappointed as they wound up losing to Penn State in overtime. I'm about to unleash on USC, and UCLA football also lost a heartbreaker to Minnesota. What could the Bruins have done to possibly get the win? All that more here on the SoCal Sports Show. It's Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. God. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 197 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that like button or subscribe button. We promise you it's worth it because we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the time November hits, and maybe even 500 by the time the end of October hits. So with your help, we can definitely make it happen. Also, make sure to check us out on other podcast platforms such as Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Amazon Music, Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Geo7, you name it. And we have a website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our page dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, our merchandise shop where you can cop t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and more. And make sure to check out our Hall of Fame as well, as I am part of the IE Sports Radio Hall of Fame, and check out so much more on our website. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I had my mic muted first and foremost. Second and foremost, as you all know, I do this show on an iPhone, and sadly, when I was going to put my phone on the iPhone holder, unfortunately, I hit the power button, or the holder hit the power button, and sadly, it kind of shut off everything and kind of stopped the music, which is disappointing. So it's been that type of day for me, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Let's get on into our sponsors, Plant Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals, as well as talking to you all about what IE Sports Radio is all about. So without any further delay, here we go.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out everything that is IE Sports Radio on iesportsradio.com. Also, make sure to check out our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. We would greatly appreciate it, and we greatly appreciate them for keeping the lights on. So, without any further delay, let's get on into the SoCal sports action. So, I'm sorry if I started off a little late. And contrary to popular belief, I was not going to be doing the show tomorrow just because last week was kind of the lone exception with everything happening outside of my control. But this week is a whole different story, and I'm happy to be live. So let's talk some college football because All right, I got a bone to pick with SC, and oh my God, I am so angry at SC for what happened. So, as we all know, I was super hyped about last week's game against Penn State. I was so confident USC would win just because Penn State, they always are that team where they're good enough to be like in the mid to above average tier, but they're not good enough to be the amazingly world beater team. But Penn State climbed up to number 4 in the college football polls. Well, USC fell out of the top 25, which made me sad face. But it's all good just because USC, I knew they were back home and they were playing Penn State. And as we all know, I was so hyped. USC was beating the tar out of, okay, maybe not beating the tar out of Penn State, but they were up by 14. Everything was going really well for USC. I was so excited. Oh my God. It looked like this was going to be USC's bounce back game. And then the second half occurred where USC allowed 14 unanswered points. And unfortunately, the game was tied up at 20-20. And it's like, no, just really, USC really is pooping the bed. And they only got a field goal in the third quarter. I just was so sickened to my core. I just could not believe that USC was just pooping the bed. So it was 23-20 after 3 quarters as USC got a field goal, a very short field goal. In the fourth quarter, Penn State was able to get a field goal of their own as it was tied up at 23 apiece. But then USC was able to get a touchdown pass from Miller Moss, finding Kyron Hudson. I'm just wondering, why the heck was USC not running the ball? So questionable play calling from Lincoln Riley. But USC was up 30-23, and it was looking really good for SC. And then Penn State managed to march down the field, I would say late in the game or late in regulation, as I don't know who this guy is, but they made this quarterback look pretty elite. I don't even know who this Drew Aller is. Like, this guy must be pretty decent if he's got Penn State rolling to being number 3 in the nation. Yeah, but eventually USC and Penn State were tied up at 30 apiece. USC got the ball back with about little less than 3 minutes to go. And I'm thinking, this is it. Miller Moss time to be the hero. He's going to be the hero just like Sam Darnold was. And Sam Darnold was in attendance of this game. So it looked like USC was about to maybe go down the field and possibly win this game and in regulation. But then Miller Moss throws an interception. It was the second interception of the game. No, I had all the faith in Miller Moss. I called him our glorious king and savior. And what did Miller Moss do? Dude threw an interception. Just freaking throw the ball away and have your kicker try to boot a long field goal. Is it not guaranteed? Yes. Is this not the NFL? Yes. But why? Why would you throw an interception? Miller did not have his best game. He was 20 for 34. He had 220 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 interception. Okay, so it was only 1 interception, but that 1 interception really wound up nipping USC in the butt, as Penn State actually had a chance to drive down the field and actually got into decent field goal range, but they missed the field goal, so overtime was needed. So USC got the ball first. They just could not drive the ball further down the field. Where was the freaking run game? Where? Excuse me. But where was the run game? Why was the run game just non-existent this week? Or non-existent in the second half? USC really had a great run game going, but unfortunately, they just abandoned it in the second half. I was just so disappointed. And USC tried a very long field goal. I think it was like 47 yards. No, he missed it. And then all Penn State needed was a field goal. And USC didn't even try to go for it on 4th down, which I imagine it would have been a very long field goal. But Ryan Barker was able to knock in a 36-yard field goal to give Penn State the win. To say I'm disappointed in this USC loss is an understatement. USC had this game in the bag. It's like they didn't even bother showing up in the second half. Like, come on, dude. You held them to 6 points, scored 20 in the first half, and what did you do? You gave up 14 unanswered to start the second half, to start the third quarter. Like, are you kidding me? I thought we abandoned Alex Grinch, but it looked like Alex Grinch was manning the defense or coordinating the defense. Like, come on. So I'm so mad at this because Penn State wasn't even that good. USC had every chance in the book to freaking beat Penn State. And you want to know what they did? They blew it. And they blew it at home in front of so many fans that were expecting a big USC win. But the good news is USC covered. That's the only good news when it came to this game. USC managed to cover, but that's it. Other than that, USC lost to a team that they know they can beat. This was at USC, at the Coliseum, and they wound up losing a big game that could have put themselves back on the map. But no, they decided, hey, let's let Penn State back in the game because we can't have the script writers having a big upset. What the heck, USC? I'm so mad. I'm so angry with USC. I just want to just blow up. I was so hyped in this last week. If you saw last week's show, I was super hyped. But you know what happened? USC decided to freaking blow it. This was basically old peak USC. Last year's USC. And I don't care what anyone says. Penn State deserved to win. But you want to know what USC did? They folded. They folded. They proved themselves that they were just pretenders. Like, this is so disappointing for me. And now people are going against Lincoln Riley with what happened with him. And people are now saying Lincoln Riley should be fired. I don't agree with that one bit. But his play calling needs to be better. Dude looks like Brandon Staley on the sideline, giving up all these points and allowing teams to mount second half comebacks. You're not freaking playing Utah State anymore. You're playing Penn State, the number 4 team in the nation. Act like it. Make the adjustments. Adapt to them. Get to freaking Drew Aller. I don't care what you have to do. Just freaking close out a game. It's not rocket science. It was one thing with Minnesota, but this, you're at home. This was your mainland. You needed to put on for your city. And what did you do? You wound up sucking in the second half. You were just peak chargering. I'm sorry, but straight up USC chargered. I don't care. They disappointed me. This loss really stuck with me for a while. I'm glad I did not see the second half live. I'm glad I just had to see it via replay because I knew what was going to happen. And yeah, peak USC right there. Blowing a freaking 14-point halftime lead. Someone needs to tell them that they're not playing in the Pac-12 anymore. All right, but USC, they're back in action when they play Maryland. They're at Maryland this week. So my biggest concern for SC is they're going to go on the road. They're going to have the Penn State hangover, and they're going to lose. That would not be surprising when it comes to USC. But can they beat Maryland and avoid their third straight loss? I say yes. But with how USC has been playing and how they just can't put together a full game, it's either the offense is sputtering and the defense has to carry, or the defense is shut down and the offense has to carry. It's just not a full, complete game. And that's what really frustrates me when it comes to USC football. So I think for USC, they really, really, really need to actually play a full 4 quarters. It's just simple, dude. I get it. They're banged up in certain areas, especially their defense. And Bear Alexander's about to be on his way out from USC. But that's why you have other players stepping up. That's why Lincoln Riley recruited these players, except he's only been to St. John Bosco and Mater Dei once, which is so disappointing. But all right, but this week's game against Maryland, I really hope USC shows up because I want to say their game against Maryland is an early game. And also, yeah, it's a 1 p.m. game. So it's a 1 p.m. Pacific game, which is a 4 p.m. start game. It's on FS1. Again, it wouldn't be surprising if USC just pooped the bed against Maryland because this is a road game and they have that hangover of losing to Penn State. It was one thing, and all their losses this season have been by 1 score. They lost to Michigan by 3. That was questionable just because of all the missed holding calls and whatnot. They lost to Minnesota, where they looked god-awful on the road. And then they lost to Penn State, which was so winnable. Like, Penn State was just begging them to take the win. They were saying, come on, SC. We're giving you a free top 5 win on a silver platter. But no, SC just can't get out of their own stupid way. And you wonder why Larry B and I bashed them on 3 and Out College Edition, which I will be doing tomorrow. I was so hyped for SC. I had so much confidence that SC was going to win. This kind of reminded me of the Chargers-Saints game back in 2020, where the Chargers had a 17-point lead at one point in the second quarter, and they wound up pooping the game away just because, and then they lost in overtime because reasons. Except they had the ball, they had the ball second. Chargers had the ball second, while USC had the ball first. So, but yeah, USC really made me mad this past weekend. I was so disappointed. They are 1-3 in the Big Ten Conference. So, are we sure that USC belongs in this conference? My question is no. But I have USC winning 31-17. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if USC wound up losing to Maryland. That would be the only thing that would not surprise me, is if USC wound up having a massive letdown on the road against Maryland. I mean, looking at Maryland, they're not like world beaters, but they are a Big Ten team. Maryland is 3-3, and they have yet to have a conference win. So USC better cross their T's and dot their I's when it comes to this matchup. Otherwise, they'll be looking at a third straight loss, and they'll be looking at being under 500. And I guess we could cross off Miller Moss when it comes to being a possible Heisman candidate, just because, let's be honest, the Heisman's not going to go to someone who had a late interception, and he also had 2 interceptions against Minnesota. So there you have it right there. I'm just so disappointed in USC. They had this game in the back of their pocket. Like, they were just dominating, but unfortunately, they just chargered it away. And speaking of Minnesota, it's a perfect segue to go into UCLA's game against Minnesota. If you get that reference, then good for you. So UCLA, they were pretty much, I wouldn't say in the driver's seat, but they pretty much had this game. They were doing everything correct against Minnesota. They were up 10-0 at halftime. Everything was looking good for those gutty little Bruins. And then Minnesota started to mount a comeback. They scored 14 unanswered, which, poor Ethan Garbers, I feel bad for him. He didn't have his best game. He had 3 interceptions in this game. He almost had 300 yards. He had 1 passing touchdown. And unfortunately, Garbers' game was kind of in vain. So, taking it to the fourth quarter, Ethan Garbers had a 42-yard touchdown pass to J. Michael Sturdivant to give UCLA a 17-14 lead. So everything was looking good. And my big thing is for Minnesota, they had no offense. Excuse me while I'm cleaning my glasses, but y'all can see my face without glasses. All right. But yeah, Minnesota just had so much offensive ineptitude, it wasn't even funny. So eventually USC had to punt the ball, or not USC, Minnesota had to punt the ball. They pinned UCLA very deep, and UCLA had to go 3 and out. And that gave Minnesota the shortest of short fields. And Minnesota was just ramming the ball down UCLA's throat. And eventually this running back who, like, Minnesota stat-wise didn't even pop out, but this Darius Taylor guy who had a big game against SC had a modest game against UCLA, but it mattered most as this Brosmer guy, Max Brosmer, had a touchdown pass to Darius Taylor, which was a 4-yard touchdown pass to put Minnesota back up 21-17. And UCLA just ran out of time as they wound up losing to Minnesota 21-17. So UCLA has now lost 5 in a row after winning that first game against Hawaii, and they're 0-4 in conference play. So those poor gutty little Bruins. So they're 1-5. They're only 2 losses away from being bounced from not being able to partake in bowl play. Or in other words, they're not going to be going bowling. So this week, UCLA is back in action this Saturday when they hit the road to New Jersey to take on Rutgers. So can they get their first Big Ten win against Rutgers? Well, Rutgers, if you've paid attention to Rutgers, they were actually one of the more modest teams. So this game is actually going to be a noon start game. So if you're paying attention to this on West Coast time, that's a 9 a.m. start time. But this one's going to be a little tricky. Rutgers has lost 2 straight, though. And Rutgers, they've kind of looked a little human. Their first loss was to Nebraska. And then last week, they got the doors blown off against Wisconsin. Now they face a UCLA team that's lost 5 in a row, that's desperate for a win. Now, for UCLA, my big thing is this. They got to win this one. If not, they're in deep trouble because the following week, they have a bye, but the week after that, they play Nebraska, and Nebraska is so big and physical that they love to win their games in the trenches. And UCLA playing at Memorial Stadium, those Nebraska fans really know how to pack Memorial Stadium. So for the game against Rutgers, this one's going to be an interesting game just because I think UCLA actually has a shot. They're facing a reeling Rutgers team, but it's on the road. ESPN is not giving Rutgers a fair shot at winning this. And honestly, I don't blame them just because UCLA has played like you know what. But you know what? It looks like Rutgers is a 6.5 point favorite to win. But you know what? I think UCLA gets the win. I got UCLA beating Rutgers 17-10. Now, you're probably wondering, Teran, have you gone mad? No, I haven't. I think Rutgers continues their streak of incompetency in terms of offensive incompetency, while UCLA finds just enough to win because UCLA almost had that win over Minnesota. Unfortunately, they just fell short. Garbers is not going to have another 3-interception game. He's not going to turn the ball over at all. I think UCLA plays a ugly but clean game, and I think they pull off the win against Rutgers on the road. It would be quite fitting because Rutgers is one of the more old school teams. They're one of the first 2 college football teams to play in college football all the way back in like 1849, back when they were known as the Queensmen. And they also had the first ever national championship, which was shared with Princeton. But I digress. But UCLA is going to win this one. I'm confident in UCLA. If UCLA can't win this one, then they better – heck, I'm even concerned that they'll lose the bye. But that's just me being funny. So something's got to give in this matchup. UCLA is either going to break their 5-game losing streak and get their first ever Big Ten game, or Rutgers is going to break their 2-game losing streak and move one step closer to being bowl game eligible. But that is going to do it for UCLA. So with a wave of my finger, I will shift this back to the red side of things as San Diego State, at least one team from SoCal managed to win in terms of the FBS. They managed to take down Wyoming 27-24. So while it is only 1 win Wyoming, it's still a solid win. I think it's a good win, even though San Diego State could have won by a lot more. Because Wyoming, let's be honest, Wyoming stinks this year. Yeah, they only have 1 win, and they're one of the worst teams in the Mountain West Conference. But San Diego State got it done. They managed to win 27-24. And this kind of begs the question, is San Diego State giving us hope? I can't believe that's actually a thing. Hope and San Diego State football go together, haven't gone together since the Rocky Long era. But them managing to win their second straight game by 27-24, let alone their second straight game overall, was quite astounding. Danny O'Neal had himself a decent game. He had 1 touchdown pass, 254 passing yards. Their offense looked pretty solid as well. As Marquez Cooper, he had a rushing touchdown. He had 87 rushing yards. the time of possession was pretty much split down the middle. Wyoming had 2 turnovers. The lone turnover from San Diego State came from O'Neal. Both teams had over 350 total yards. Overall, it was a pretty solid game. As this, again, it's a nice win on the road. You never know when it comes to road games, but San Diego State, they managed to do it. They managed to string together a second straight win. It was actually 17-14 at halftime with San Diego State leading, even though I was very concerned. I was like, why is San Diego State letting Wyoming hang around? And it was actually at the point where Wyoming was up 24-17, and San Diego State needed a go-ahead field goal from Gabriel Placemesia. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. I'm trying not to look at his name, but yeah, San Diego State was able to get a go-ahead field goal with about halfway through the fourth quarter, and their defense held strong. So kind of a mixture of good competency from San Diego State. So good for them. They have a bye this week, as their next opponent will be against Washington State the following Saturday. So it's going to be home against the Cougars. This isn't going to be a Mountain West Conference game yet. But hopefully for San Diego State's sake, they're able to get the job done against those Cougars. It's going to be tough, though. We're going to see some Pac-12/Mountain West after dark. Their next conference game will be on the 1st, which I imagine is going to be a weekend, maybe? Because the first of it's going to be a Friday game. So it's a Friday game so basically 2 weeks from today, San Diego State plays its next conference game against Boise State. That's going to be tough. But we'll see what happens when it comes to San Diego State. They got to take it 1 week at a time. Playing Washington State is going to be tough as nails, though. But we'll see. All right, but that is that for all of the college football. We'll take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we've got some NFL to discuss, and we've got some MLB. We might as well check in on the Dodgers, as we all know, the Dodgers are 1 win away from clinching a spot in the World Series. But last I checked, they were down 8. They were down 8. Okay, they're not down 8-1 anymore. They're down 10-2. Excuse me while I go scream in the background, but we'll take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got some NFL to discuss. Keep it locked here. You're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen B, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as the Show of the Land with Jen B. She's got to be either nervous or excited just because the Cleveland Browns, or not the Cleveland Browns, last team that anyone wants to talk about, the Cleveland Guardians are in the ALCS, and they had an amazing comeback yesterday against those New York Yankees. Also, check out my boy Drewski and his show, The Heart of Texas Sports. It's definitely worth checking out. Patty Bax also popped into the chat room. She said, have a great show, Teran. Sorry about scratching my nose. It's a little itchy. But thank you, Patty, for tuning in and popping into the chat room. It means a lot. All right, now let's talk some Chargers action. So the Chargers, they managed to knock off the Denver Broncos 23-16 to snap a 2-game skid and move to 3-2 on the season. So it's actually been a minute since the Chargers wound up winning in Denver. That seems to have been their house of horrors. I think they had only won 2 out of the last 17 trips to Denver. And that includes the playoffs as well. So, yeah, it's been that tough for the Chargers in terms of trying to win in Denver. But this was a good win. It actually was their first win in 5 years at Denver. So I think their last win in Denver was 2018. If was the 2018-19 season where the Chargers, they were the 5 seed and they had a fantastic season where they wound up winning a playoff game under Anthony Lynn, who I think should have gotten Coach of the Year, but I digress. But the Chargers winning. Okay, the Chargers game was so weird. So Chargers were looking really good in this game. The Chargers just, I wouldn't say they looked really good, but in the first quarter, this was the game-changing play. Pat Surtain II tried to defend Ladd McConkey, but got a concussion. This was kind of off of a turnover that the Chargers forced as they picked off Bo Nix. But unfortunately for Pat Surtain II, he suffered a concussion, which is not good. And the dude was out the rest of the game. Ladd McConkey wasn't 100% either, as it looked like he was concussed. And dude was doing all he can to try to keep himself in the game. So, yeah, the Chargers had that happen. They actually were up 10-0 at the end of the first quarter, and they doubled that lead to 20-0 at the end of the second quarter. So everything was looking really good for the Chargers. Their defense was really humming, and this is a defense without Joey Bosa, who had a hip injury. They also put Asante Samuel Jr. on IR, which was no bueno. And they also were missing Jasir Taylor, which is another one of their top corners. They also were missing Rashawn Slater on the offensive line. So the Chargers were basically having the deck stacked against them. Everything was just going awry for them. And fortunately, they were able to pull out the win. They're up 23-0 at the end of the third quarter. But Denver started to mount their comeback. They were actually looking pretty better than they were going into the fourth than they were in the first 3 quarters, as Bo Nix was able to lead the way. He led the charge for the Broncos. And eventually they needed an onside kick. They had reeled off 16 unanswered points as Bo Nix found Troy Franklin for a 2-yard passing touchdown. And then this was the most questionable touchdown I've ever seen. It was a one-handed catch from Cortland Sutton, which it isn't his first time that he's had a one-handed catch against the Chargers for a touchdown. But he did not have full control of that ball. And but the officials just said touchdown Broncos. So great job, NFL officiating. Way to have accountability and way to make things fair. Freaking zebras. But eventually the Chargers allowed 16 unanswered points. Now, they didn't have their starting corners in the fourth quarter, but honestly, I don't care. You got to keep your foot on the gas. I don't care if the Broncos are coming back. When the Broncos are pretty much, or any team is dead in the water, like there's like if there's like little to no time for a massive comeback, then you put in the reserves. Like, fortunately, the Chargers were able to burn away all of the Broncos' timeouts. And thankfully, they had a sizable lead to the point where the Broncos just couldn't come back. But, dude, 16 unanswered points, the Chargers have to learn to close out. But this was such a weird game. Everyone was sustaining injuries. Even the coaches. The Chargers had Jim Harbaugh. He kind of had like a little bit of I wouldn't say a heart condition, but it's like a cardiac condition. He was okay, though. But the weird thing was the dude he had beige pants to start, and then he switched to like black pants. Some are saying that dude pulled a Lamar Jackson and he needed to take a number 2, but I can't confirm that. Only Chargers PR can confirm, and Jim Harbaugh can confirm. Anyway, so the Chargers are 3-2 going into their matchup this week, but we're going to save that for a little bit because chronological order has – sorry if I'm needing to scratch my nose a little more. Chronological order has the Rams playing first, then the Chargers. So we're going to switch to – that's not blue. We're going to switch back to the royal blue. And the Rams are back in action after they had their byes as they host – yeah, Raiders! Yes, I had to do it like that voice. I had to do the Chris Berman voice. But the Rams are hosting yeah, Raiders at SoFi this week. So I'm hoping for the Rams' sake they can actually get their you-know-what together. Now, the Raiders, look, as much as I wanted to give them Dum Dum of the Week for a third straight week or the third time this NFL season, they traded away Davante Adams. So I'm sorry, but did the Raiders literally trade a first and second for Davante Adams to pair him with Derek Carr, and now they just traded him away for practically nothing? Raiders, you never disappoint. No wonder Larry is always bashing you on 3 and out. It's not worth giving them Dum Dum of the Week this week, but suddenly Davante Adams is now going to be making his debut for the New York Jets against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football. So suddenly Davante Adams is healthy after missing the past 3 games for the Raiders with a toe injury. So anyway, but this isn't about the Raiders. So the Rams, can the Rams salvage their season? That's the biggest question. Can they salvage their season against the Raiders? My hope is yes, just because I hear Cooper Kupp might be trending back to playing, but it's not guaranteed. Also, Joe Notaboom is off IR. Hopefully he'll be back. My big thing for the Rams is they got to watch out for Max Crosby. If they can hopefully prevent Max Crosby from feasting all over that offensive line, I think the Rams have a shot. But it's tough for Matthew Stafford to win games when he's trotting out a JV team. But the opposition that the Raiders have in terms of their quarterback play is no better, as they've got either Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew at the helm. So this might be one of those ugly games that you're going to see this week when it comes to the Rams and the Raiders. But last year, the Raiders finished second in the AFC West. The Rams finished second in the AFC West. So those two got to face one another. If the Rams didn't want this, they should have finished third. Or they maybe should have finished first. I don't know. But Rams and Raiders are facing one another because that's how the 17th game works. So here's my thing for the Rams. If they can play some clean football, if they can get their run game going, I think the Rams have a for sure shot. It's not going to be easy just because the Raiders are going to come in motivated. Antonio Pierce, I think this is kind of him coaching for his job at this point, just because at this point, I'm not sure if Antonio Brown is safe. I mean, the Raiders basically hired him as the full-on head coach after him being the interim coach from last year following the firing of Josh McDaniels. But could the Raiders possibly bring in Bill Belichick? I mean, they did make Tom Brady pretty much a part-time owner and given him full power. Well, not full power, but you know what I mean. But back to the game. This one's going to be one of those ugly games. But I think the Rams are going to eke this one out. I got the Rams winning 23-20. This is kind of, again, it's going to be an ugly game, and it's going to be one of those mid battles for both teams. This is going to be very ugly, to say the least. If I'm an NFL fan, unless you're a diehard like my boy Larry B is, I maybe am staying away from this matchup just because, well, both these teams are pretty bad. They're pretty bad, dude. So yeah, I got the Rams winning 23-20. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was like 24-21, where the Rams need a game-winning field goal from Josh Carty. So there you have it right there. That's how I think it'll be when it comes to the Rams and the Raiders. It's going to be one of those interestingly bleh games, but it is what it is. Now, as for the Chargers, after their great win over the Broncos on the road, they will still stay on the road as they play Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this is a Monday night game, which, cool, I got to move set point. So this game is going to be rather interesting just because the Chargers have an extra day to prepare for those Cards. So when it comes to this game, here's their injury report. So the game status won't be released until tomorrow, which I will be done with this show by then. Joey Bosa did not play or did not practice with a hip injury. DJ Chark was limited for the past two practices. Will Dissly had a full practice today. Simi Fehoko had a full practice today. Christian Fulton did not practice with a hamstring injury. Hayden Hurst had a groin injury. He's been a DNP for the past two practices. Zion Johnson had a full practice, even though he had an ankle injury. Quentin Johnston had an ankle injury. He is a DNP on Thursday and on Friday. Dean Leonard was a DNP, did not practice on Thursday and Friday. Ladd McConkey was limited with a hip injury. Trey Pipkins III, he was limited with a shoulder injury on Thursday and Friday. And Jasir Taylor, he was limited with a fibula injury on Thursday and on Friday. So that's pretty much the injury report so far for the Chargers. Again, their game stats will be released later Saturday. I imagine it's looking like Joey Bosa is going to be heading to another not going to be playing status, which I think is going to suck. But, Joey Bosa, unless Joey Bosa can log a limited practice session. But I think Joey Bosa is going to be out. Christian Fulton might be out. Hayden Hurst is looking like it's going to be out. He's going to be out. Like who else does the Chargers have in terms of tight ends? Do they still have Donald Parham? And then Quentin Johnston being out is looking possible as well, just because, and maybe Ladd McConkey. Like, they've got Josh Palmer, which is cool. But the Chargers are going to, I mean, it might be time for them to unleash Brendan Rice. That dude is good. And I'm not just saying that because Fight On for All SC. But I'm saying that just because I think the Chargers might be limited in terms of options this week, in terms of their wide receiver at the very least, defensive-wise, they might get Jasir Taylor back, and they still have Tuli Tuipulotu, and they've got the ageless wonder in Khalil Mack. But, yeah, the injury report isn't looking good. Now, for the Cardinals, the big thing to note for is, will Marvin Harrison Jr. be playing for the Cardinals? Now, I was just recently on AZ Sports Zone with my boy Alden K. I appreciate him for having me on, even though I ran into some hijinks. But for the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. is basically going to be all eyes are on him when it comes to the Cardinals. If he plays, then I could see this being a little bit of an air raid game for the Chargers, just because both teams are kind of going to like to throw the ball. I mean, the Cardinals have one of the worst defenses in the league, while the Chargers have one of the more better defenses. Apparently, their defense is 6th, according to the NFL, while the Cardinals overall, I think, is like 26th or somewhere in the past the 20th ranked mark. But what the Chargers need to do in order to possibly get the win over the Cardinals is run the darn ball. Have J.K. Dobbins go off. Heck, get Kamani Vidal going. If Kamani Vidal actually had his first touchdown. It was a touchdown catch, which that was good. It was real cool, if you ask me. But please, for the love of God, just run the ball. Run the ball down the Cardinals' throats. They have one of the worst run defenses out there. They've given up, I think, 170 rushing yards per game or so. They need to have the ball ran down the throat. Please, Chargers, run the ball down the Cardinals' throats. Just do it. Heck, passing wouldn't even be a bad idea because the Cardinals have one of the worst passing defenses out there. I think their pass defense is like maybe 21st or 22nd. Regardless, it's very bad. Like, the Cardinals' defense is not good at all. So please, for the love of God, Chargers offense, get your ish together and actually put on a show. Actually score more than 24 points. I mean, they scored 23 against the Broncos, but we'll see. So this is the Chargers' time for their offense to fully be unlocked. And this is also time for the Chargers to shake away the narrative of the new Jim Harbaugh scheme is holding back Justin Herbert and preventing him from being the best he can be. Well, the Chargers are 3-2, and their only losses were to the Steelers, which the Chargers, they were in that game through the first 3 quarters, and unfortunately they wound up losing that. And then they also lost to the Chiefs, where they were in that game through the first 3 quarters, and unfortunately they lost that one too. So the Chargers really need to let their offense do their thing, and I think they can do it. I think they can beat the Cardinals on primetime, but it's going to be tough. The Cardinals, I know, are going to be motivated to try to win the game, and hopefully for the Chargers' sake, they can build off this win, just because if I recall correctly, their next game is against the Browns. We're in week 7. No, it's against the Saints. So they've got the Saints, then the Browns, which the Saints have all sorts of problems, but I digress. But in this game for the Cardinals, I think this is going to be one of those ground and pound games where I think the run game is going to be crucial for either team. And I think for the Chargers, they just have to get J.K. Dobbins going early and often. And heck, get Kamani Vidal involved. Dude looks really good. Why not give him more reps? And I don't think Gus Edwards is going to play. But either way, I got the Chargers winning 24-13. I think the Chargers win this one fairly handily. I think they can get pressure on Kyler Murray. And if he doesn't have Marvin Harrison Jr., then I think the Cardinals really have to go to the ground game because, let's be honest, who do they have as wide receiver? Exactly. Trey McBride, he's kind of banged up a little. Marvin Harrison Jr. is still in concussion protocol. So that's if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't play. Now, if Marvin Harrison Jr. does play, I think the Chargers still win, but it'll be a little tighter, as I think the Chargers win 27-21. I think it'll be a close one, but I think the Chargers just eke out the win. Also, I will just make note of this, and I hate to say this to Cardinals fans. I think wherever the what is it, like FedEx Forum? Why am I blanking on the it's a State Farm Stadium. Why do I think FedEx Forum? Anyway, I think State Farm Stadium is going to be the Chargers' second home. For a team that doesn't really have much fans, it seems like the Chargers fans come out full force when it comes to playing the Cardinals. Now, Matchup Predictor on ESPN must be tripping because apparently they have the Cardinals winning 50.2% to 49.4%. Did they not see what the Cardinals did against the Packers? They gave up 34 points to a not so fully healthy Jordan Love. I'm just saying they got curb stomped against them, those boys, but I digress in that regard. Anyway, but I got the Chargers winning 27-21, and let's bring back the powder blue just because why not? That's not powder blue. That's not powder blue. I'm on powder blue. Be more powder blue. There's the powder blue. There's the powder blue. All right, but yeah, I got to rep my Chargers jersey as well. My Tommy Bahama Chargers shirt. But yeah, whether Marvin Harrison Jr. plays or not, I think the Chargers win. It just depends on if he plays or not. Now, Alden K has the Chargers winning 23-16. So I think it'll still probably be close. I think the Chargers just pull away in the fourth quarter. And Kyler Murray's going to do everything in his power to try to get his team to win. Just because Kyler Murray looks pretty solid. And I feel that if he doesn't put on for the fans or if the fans turn against Kyler Murray, I think the Cardinals may have to move in a different direction from him. But I think the Cardinals, in terms of franchise guy, will keep Kyler Murray. But if the fans turn against him, then it might be time to put the fries in the bag. Except not really. I think Kyler Murray is still a serviceable quarterback. But this one's going to be a fun game. It's on Monday Night Football game. It's the only primetime game for the Cardinals this season. And it's the first primetime game of the year for those Chargers. So I can't wait to see what happens in this game. So that's going to do it for the Chargers and Rams portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves one last commercial breaky break. When we come back, we've got some MLB to discuss as it's time for a quick little update on the Mets Dodgers. They were down. The Dodgers were down 10-2. And okay, they're only down 10-5 now. Dodgers are making progress. Why are they down 10-2 to begin with? It's kind of getting better, but not really. But one more commercial break. When we come back, we've got some MLB to discuss, some MLS to discuss, and some NHL to discuss. Keep it locked here. You were listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter at any time. Be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and a weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
And we are back with the final portion of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out our amazing shows such as the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax, because nobody circles the wagons better than those Buffalo Bills. Also check out Sin City Sports with my boy Cale Henderson. I need to start tuning in to that. I feel horrible. But for those that are wondering on if I'm going to be talking Dodgers, you'll have to wait for a little bit, because the Dodgers, they're down 10-6, but it's still a long 10-6. But I digress. All right, so let's jump into some MLS, as we got to talk some LA Galaxy and some LAFC. Let's just put it at black, just because night black is beautiful. Anyway, so LA Galaxy and LAFC. Looking at the table, it looks like those gutty little Galaxy. The gutty little Galaxy is looking like they've clinched the number one seed in the Western Conference, as they've got 64 points. So looking at the Galaxy as a whole, they're first in the. They just recently beat Austin last week. As actually, I think they had a bye. So I'm sorry. Their most recent game, they beat the Austin FC, and they play the Houston Dynamo, which is actually sold out. So this is going to be fan appreciation night for the LA Galaxy, and they'll be hosting the Houston Dynamo, which it should be a nice little game right there. Austin Dynamo is actually the 5th in the Western Conference, so it should be fun. But the Galaxy, they are they're first in the Western Conference. They have a chance to clinch the number one seed this week. At this point, I think all they need is a tie in order to clinch the number one seed. I would be stunned if the Galaxy needed more to possibly clinch the number one seed. But the Galaxy have looked good as of late. Remember, it helps when you have better ownership. Your team could even do good. especially the Galaxy. So the Galaxy, they have 64 points. They are 3 points ahead of LAFC in the Western Conference, and I imagine 1 point is all they need to clinch the number 1 seed. This one's going to be a fun one, though. This is going to be standing room only, and it's going to be at Dignity Health Sports Park. And the Galaxy are going to get a little bit of an early playoff test against Houston, and I look forward to it. I think this is going to be a fun one. Now, as for LAFC, they are on the road against the San Jose Sharks. Their most recent game or most recent match, they beat the Vancouver Whitecaps 2-1. So, if we're including the U.S. Open Cup, the LAFC has won 5 straight matches. If we're just going off of just standard MLS matches, they've won 4 straight matches, which is cool. So LAFC plays at San Jose. I mean, San Jose is the worst team in the Western Conference and maybe one of the worst teams in the league. So for LAFC, they should have no problem. My big thing is if they win and the Galaxy loses, what happens with those two? Do they have a tiebreaker, or I feel that they have? Why does it feel like the Galaxy have more matches on their docket? But I don't know. Maybe I'm doing my math wrong. But the end of the regular season for the MLS is getting closer and closer by the day. And LAFC, they're second in the Western Conference. If the playoffs started today, they would be playing. Wait for it. They'd probably be playing Minnesota United, which I guess isn't bad, but I mean, the Whitecaps or the Timbers could also be a threat, though. So we'll see what happens with LAFC and the LA Galaxy. I think both teams are in playoff form, and I don't think the Sounders or Real Salt Lake are going to be catching either of those two, unless maybe I'm doing my math wrong in terms of number of matches that remain for both teams. But I think the Galaxy and LAFC are looking really good, and I can't wait to see what they could do come playoff time. My hope is for LAFC and the LA Galaxy, they don't play their worst matches and they don't get one and done, because the first round is so different. You have to win 2 out of 3, and then the rest of the way is just single elimination, where if you lose 1-0, your season's done. So hopefully the Galaxy and LAFC aren't peaking at the worst time. Hopefully they're not peaking now, but we'll see. All right, but that is that for the MLS portion of the show. Jumping to the NHL portion of the show, we'll talk a little briefly about Kings and Ducks, just because I know y'all want to hear me talk about the Dodgers. All right, so in terms of the Ducks, their most recent match saw them beating the Utah Hockey Club. I'm not kidding you. That is their name. Remember how the Arizona Coyotes were a thing? Well, Arizona told them to take a hike. Well, the NHL told Arizona to take a hike, and now they have the Utah Hockey Club, where Anaheim managed to beat them for the first time in meeting history. They've managed to beat them 5-4. So far, the Ducks are 2-1, which is nice. As tonight, they are on the road against the Colorado Avalanche, who have not won a match this season. So if for some weird reason the Ducks lose this one, I think we got to relegate them. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, because that would be inexcusable. So that's who the Ducks play, and so far so good for the Ducks. As for the Kings, their most recent game saw them winning 4-1 over the Montreal Canadiens. Their road trip has been so brutal. They've been on the road to start the entire first 5 games. They played the Buffalo Sabres. They lost to the Boston Bruins, which was yucky. They lost to the Ottawa Senators 8-7. Yikes. That's a freaking football score. And they also lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-2. Thankfully, they were able to salvage 1 win on their they salvaged 2 wins on their road trip. They also, and 2 of their losses were in overtime. They lost to the Senators in OT, which that's a terrible way to lose. And they lost to the Bruins in OT. The only regulation loss they had was against those Maple Leafs. But the Kings took down the Canadiens 4-1. So their next game won't be until Sunday when they once again hit the road to play the Anaheim Ducks in the first, what is it, the freeway face-off? I'm sorry if I know the freeway series is the Dodgers and the Angels, but freeway face-off sounds like the correct name because down the 405 and face-off is the terminology in hockey. So, yeah, the first freeway face-off between the Ducks and the Kings. So that's who the Kings will play. The Ducks haven't played too many games this year, while the Kings have played 6. So I imagine, not 6, 5. They have 6 points right now, but I imagine the Kings are going to have a lot more experience underneath their belts. But by the time the Ducks play their next game, they'll have 4 games underneath their belt. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the Ducks and the Kings. So far, it's been a solid showing for both teams. Not too great, but not too bad either. So plenty of season left. So as for the Dodgers, y'all get to wonder how the Dodgers are doing. So as we all know, the Dodgers are 1 win away from advancing to the World Series, which will be awesome sauce. As last night they took down the New York Mets 10-2. That was in Game 4. Game 3 they wound up winning 10-0. It was in New York, and it was 8-0. So either way, it was still a great win for the Dodgers, winning 8-0, and then they wound up winning 10-2 last night. So far today, it isn't looking all that great. I feel the Dodgers might have used up all their runs yesterday, as the Dodgers are great. They're down 11-6. I was gonna say they're only down 10-6 against the Mets after they were down 10-8 at one point. But yeah, it looks like the Dodgers are coming back to LA for Game 6 and hopefully not Game 7. Unless the Dodgers can pull off some sort of miracle where they score 6 runs in the span of the next 3 innings and hold the Mets scoreless from now until the end. And yeah, I knew the Dodgers were going to have some sort of letdown when it comes to this, but man, dude, you look this bad? I mean, dang. You might as well just not have shown up, to quote Stephen A. Smith. But yeah, dude, that's disgusting, dude. You gave up freaking 11 runs after you only gave up 2. But I guess throwing Jack Flaherty to the Wolves was certainly not the best choice for the Dodgers. I honestly think that throwing Jack Flaherty was not the best idea. If I'm mispronouncing his name wrong, I apologize. But Flaherty, he had a great Game 1. Game 5 is not looking too great. But I can't blame the guy just because dude hasn't gotten a full week of rest. But hey, he's trying. All right, but I think it's safe to say we can pretty much expect a Game 6. And if a Game 6 does happen, I imagine that's going to be on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. And heaven forbid if a Game 7 is needed, then it'll be on Monday. So I'm making the correct choice by moving set point to probably 1 p.m. But we'll see. All right, but that is going to do it for the Dodgers portion of the show. Before we get on out of here, it's time to go over the Dum Dum of the Week. I actually have 2 Dum Dums of the Week. So Dum Dum of the Week is a segment I like to, an award I like to give out to, which no one is safe from. No, anyone can get this award. So first Dum Dum of the Week. If you all saw AZ Sports Zone, it was great through like the first half of my segment with Alden. And then suddenly the power goes out at my job. So I'm wondering, oh, great, there's a blackout. So because I was hearing construction and basically hardly anybody got to see my face. It was so embarrassing. So I'm sorry to Alden that happened. But I was in the break room when this whole thing happened. And then I think it was like halfway, and I was trying to brighten my screen to the point where more people could see me, but my iPhone just sadly could not cooperate. So yeah, I was in the break room, power went out, and I'm thinking, oh, great, the store has a power outage. And after I did my little segment with Alden to the best of my ability. But when I got up to move around and to basically leave my job, the power came back on. I'm like, oh, the power now comes back as soon as I leave. But when I left, when I was about to leave the break room in the dark, I saw that the hallway light was on from the break room all the way to the stairs where you go to get back onto the sales floor. So it turns out there was no blackout after all. My job had the brightest idea, no pun intended, to have a power-saving panel where if there's like no one in the area or there's no one having any motion sensory, the power just turns off. The lights just turn off in the break room of all places. You know, that's not convenient just because I really want to stay far away from everybody in terms of doing my little segment interview with Alden on his show. But yeah, who installs a freaking motion sensor power saver in a break room? And why just the break room? Why not have it everywhere else? Like, come on. That's just stupid, dude. Just to save a few bucks? I swear, this pavilion, the store that I work at, yes, it's a Pavilions. It literally does not need a power saver. Like, what's gonna happen? It's so easy to screw in fluorescent lights. Like, you're not gonna lose a lot in terms of like power being wasted. So you know what I gotta say to that? There's only one thing I gotta say to the power going off while I was doing my interview with Alden.
Oh, come on! Oh, come on! Oh, come on! Oh, come on! Oh, come on!
If you can't hear that, it's come on. Yeah, it was frustrating to say the least. So yeah, we gotta get one more come on just for good reference.
Come on! Oh, come on! Oh, come on!
But yeah, to whoever had the brightest idea of having a power saver system in the break room, you're dumb of the week. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if you're saving a few bucks or not. You're lighting up the entire store and you have a freaking power saver in the liquor department. That you need just because no one is going to be in the liquor department early in the store or whatnot. But to have a power saver in the freaking break room in terms of like electricity and lighting, you don't need that. So get out of here, you freaking job. I know it's a petty anti thing, but golly, dude, it's like, why do you need to save power from a break room? The break room is as small as is, so what? Are you saving like $1 or so? Come on. But that's not the worst dum-dum of the week. The worst dum-dum of the week goes to Colin Kaepernick for basically being the I called it guy. No, I'm just kidding. Colin Kaepernick gets the mini dum-dum of the week because he said Las Vegas had the Denver Broncos winning only 5 games. Someone else had something in mind. Those were kind of his paraphrasing quote. Now, I will give Uncle Colin this. Good job on predicting that. However, the Broncos haven't won more than 5 games yet. They still have to win that 5th game, and they have to surpass that 5th game. So, Colin, you haven't proven anyone wrong or right yet. So, don't count your money by any means. But it looks like the Broncos are going to have more than 5 wins just because they've got the Carolina Panthers next week. But imagine if the Broncos do lose out and then Colin Cowherd saying Las Vegas had the Broncos winning only 5 games. I had them winning more. He didn't say that he had them winning more. He just said someone else had them winning more. And Colin Cowherd was like, I have a feeling Bo Nix is going to rally the Broncos. And I'm like, okay, he rallied them, but they didn't win. So, Yeah, Colin Cowherd gets the mini dum-dum, like just the mini. But the real dum-dum of the week goes to ESPN for having the Chargers Cardinals on freaking only on ESPN Plus. I am a guy who does not have ESPN Plus, and this is the Cardinals' one lone primetime game this year. And you mean to tell me that it's only going to be exclusive on ESPN Plus? All because y'all want to have Ravens Bucks as the main Monday Night Football game. Unbelievable. I'm disgusted by this. You couldn't even put them on ESPN2. ESPN took a massive L when it comes to this. That's all I gotta say. ESPN gets an L. But yeah, ESPN gets an L when it comes to this because that is stupid, dude. Not everyone here has ESPN Plus. Not everyone can afford ESPN Plus. Not everyone and their mommies can give a darn to turn on ESPN Plus. We want to see Chargers Cardinals on at least ESPN2, if not ESPN3. But why are you punishing Chargers and Cardinals fans by just making it exclusive on ESPN Plus? Like, Cardinals only get one primetime game. Chargers only get 3 primetime games, one of which will be on ESPN when they play the Baltimore Ravens. But seriously, you are really doing a disservice to all NFL fans for just making this game exclusive on ESPN Plus. Disappointing to say the least, ESPN. I can't believe you would do this. Just ESPN Plus. No, I'm thankful I'm a Chargers fan, and I'm going to be able to, I'm going to want to have this, and hopefully I'll be able to have a free trial when it comes to this. But God, dude, that's so irritating to have this game only exclusively on ESPN Plus. And everyone, their mamas was just promoting this on ESPN. It's like, who freaking cares? Who cares if it's the first ever exclusive game on ESPN Plus? Not many people are going to watch it because everyone's going to be watching Bucks, Ravens, and more importantly, not everyone has ESPN Plus. So great job, ESPN marketing, for dropping the freaking ball. And just for that, you're dumb of the week. You don't even get any sound effects. You are just straight up dumb. You're really, really dumb. For real. That's going to do it for Dumb of the Week. Thanks a lot, ESPN. Now I got to spend a small, I think it's like $10.99 a month. But I'm eventually going to, even if I cancel my plan, it's eventually going to charge me $10.99 for that. Yes, I know it's just $10.99, but honestly, I don't like having ESPN Plus. I'll only have it for like the NCAA women's volleyball tournament and maybe for NCAA men's volleyball, but that's it. I don't plan on having ESPN Plus just because for a long term, just because it's not worth it. Like, what am I going to use it for? Not for basketball, certainly not. And not for, like, anything else outside of volleyball. So, yeah. Just another way ESPN wants to get its money's worth. Same with the NFL. It's almost as bad as putting it on Prime Video or Peacock, but I digress. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. Marcus Los Great says, salute, Teran. I appreciate you. Salute to you, Marcus. And yeah, I agree, Marcus. The nerve of them. The nerve of having this Chargers fan have to pay for ESPN Plus just to watch one little game. Maybe with my luck, Sling TV will be able to broadcast the game on like ESPN2 or something of that, or ESPN3. Probably because it's local, but knowing my luck, it's not going to happen. But I digress. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Quick update on the Mets-Dodgers. Dodgers are down 11-6 going into the bottom of the 7th inning. Yeah, it's looking like this one's going to go to at least a Game 6. So hopefully for the Dodgers' sake, they can come up big on Sunday. But for everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. I will see you all tomorrow in Newport Beach for the Newport Beach 4-man beach volleyball tournament. So check your boy out. I'll be there, and maybe I'll be signing autographs. We'll see. But have a great rest of the weekend. And remember, everybody, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace! And let's go, USC. Let's actually get a win this weekend.